Coach from the University of Oklahoma, Lincoln Riley.
We're actually go straight to questions today. We'll start out with James.
Lincoln, the news about Jalen Hurts is pretty exciting. Could you talk about the fact he's coming to Oklahoma, when you really first thought you needed a graduate quarterback, and the process a little bit?
Yeah, it's been an interesting process when you have a situation like we have with Kyler's, where I think all three options initially that were on the table for him were all very real options. One of those being coming back here, and had a discussion with him. What it is now, a week and a half ago, with him and his family, where we sat down, went through it all, and I knew after that night, I think it was on a Tuesday or Wednesday night, I knew that leaving that discussion that he was going to go play professionally one way or the other. I was not going to come back to OU. And so once I knew that, then obviously you get a chance to take a look at your room and see what you have, what you need, what are your concerns. And after I knew that, I started thinking about adding somebody older in that room, thinking we might need another older presence in there. Started off by looking across the country, looking in the transfer portal, looking at some junior college guys, and when I found a couple of guys that I zeroed in on that I thought were intriguing options, I then started making contact with the current quarterbacks and their families. Had good talks with all of them, was very open and upfront with them, like I always am with them. Honestly, in Austin Kendall's case, I probably even jumped the gun a little bit, letting them know before I knew if there was any real interest from any of these transfers out there. But I felt like, especially a guy in his position, I wanted him to be able to know. And honestly, I actually encouraged the family to enter the transfer portal, as difficult as that was. And I don't really, there's parts of this transfer stuff that I don't agree with. But when asked the question from his dad, if he was your son, what would you do? That was my honest answer, and at least give himself options and see how this thing played out. So I had great conversations with them the entire way through, as well with our other quarterbacks, their families. And it was kind of just an open, honest process all the way throughout. And Jalen came up here and visited, and we thought it went well. It was kind of a quick visit. You bring a grad transfer in, they don't care about a lot of stuff. It's a lot of times they're making that decision for one reason only. So it went well, and then Jalen let us know that he was coming, and we, I said, continue to communicate with all of our other quarterbacks, and here we are today.
Jason?
Yeah, there was a lot of controversy about Austin Kendall and the West Virginia stuff. Can you address that and kind of how that all played out from your end?
Yeah, it started, like I said, with the conversation with his father and mother the night after I had visited with Kyler and honestly started thinking about bringing somebody else in. I had my first conversation with Austin about it the next morning. And it was good. It was a very positive process the whole way through. Family was great. Austin and I talked not just every day, we talked multiple times each day. Got to meet in person a few times and visit about it. Despite everybody in the world wanting to jump the gun without any accurate info like people did around the country, it was a very smooth process. And it was a tough decision on, whether to. Of course, they can transfer anywhere, and we don't have any problem with that. In conference, out of conference, that's how it is. It was a tough decision on, do you allow them to be immediately eligible, considering it's another conference opponent, considering this is the one conference where you play every opponent. And sometimes, as we've seen the last couple of years, you're going to play somebody twice. Because in this position, and it was really difficult for me because I recruited him. He's been in my room. I mean, I've got a different relationship with those guys. It's just the way our staff setup is. And so you've got the personal human side of it, and then you also have the reality side that every decision I make doesn't only affect Austin Kendall or any one player individually. It affects a lot of people around here. I got a bunch of other kids and a bunch of other families that it affects too. I got teams here in the future that these decisions can have repercussions for, and they can impact that. They can set precedent that can be, I'm not saying it can be damaging, but you got to be aware of those things. This is not a decision, that's a big enough decision. You don't just make this, like that. And so, and I was honest with them. Their timeline was difficult because they're trying to rush to potentially get in school somewhere. We started school a lot later than most of the schools he was looking at, so there was deadlines on his part, and then me not wanting to rush a pretty big decision. So, like I said, we had good, open, honest conversation. There was a point in time where I was not ready to grant him that. I was kind of, I think, pretty honest throughout the entire time that I haven't made a final decision yet. I'm trying to get to that place because personally, the human element, I want to do it for you. I love the kid. Austin Kendall was great here. I loved every minute that he was here. His family was great. He was a very positive member of this team, and I didn't want him to go. But then I also wanted to make sure I'm making the best decision for Oklahoma too, and for all of our staff, all of our players, for all the players that will play for us in the coming years. Because like I said, these decisions, they carry weight, and you can't just always make it for one individual guy. So we worked through it, and there was different points where they needed to know where I stood relative to their decisions, and I was honest. And then we got to a point as it went on where I felt like I still have some inner back and forth about it, to be completely honest, but I got to a point where the human element of it was strong enough that we felt like it was the right thing to do in this situation.
John?
Just to follow up on that, whether it was, I guess, what am I trying to say here? Whether it was doing the right thing or coming to a clean conscience or whatever the final decision was, what was that you talked about the inner workings, what was the final determination for you to release him without restrictions?
Just the human element, I couldn't get past. And you just try to put yourself in all the different scenarios that you could possibly be in down the line where this you could feel the ripple effect of this. And does this have a major negative impact at some point? And, with the way the transfers are going, where this thing's headed, we felt like we finally got to a point through all the discussions that we felt like, that we could do it. It was a situation we brought in his time here 2 other transfers at his position, and he's done a great job here. And at the end, the human element in my relationship with him and his family, probably the thing that probably pushed me over the edge was the last conversation I had with him that morning, and then I ended up releasing him that afternoon, where it was just all this stuff was going on in the media, and again, all these people jumping to conclusions about things that they have no actual facts about, and we were just kind of laughing about it, like we've been joking and laughing and talking through this thing like we have for the last 3 years, every minute that I've coached him. So, I mean, it was, and I appreciated how the kid was handling all that, and at the end, the human element won out, and got to a point where I could come to terms with it in my mind that, it wouldn't be an awful thing for our place too. And so that's one of the tough things about this job. I'm not complaining about it, but you got to make tough decisions, as we've seen. I've had to make a bunch of tough ones this year, and they're not always the best for one person, but you got to try to do the best that you can for individual people, but also maintain doing the best for this place and all the people that are here, all the people that have been here, and all the people that will be here.
Let's go to Ryan.
Lincoln, you mentioned that you didn't agree with everything with the new transfer process. What would you like to see change? And along with that, would you like the Big 12 to take that particular decision out of coaches' hands, sort of like the SEC has done?
I don't know if it's a time and place for it right now, just because it's such a hot topic. I mean, I think we got to really step back and look at the college model, though, because I think this threatens it. And I'm for players having rights, and I absolutely believe that a lot of the progress that's been made in the last several years on a lot of different fronts, even some of those fronts that have nothing to do with transferring, have absolutely been positive. But I think college football is a great game, and you know, the greatest sport on earth, and we do a lot more right, and there's a lot more right about it than there is wrong right now. And so I do have concerns of it just opening up where guys can just wildly transfer anywhere at any point and be immediately eligible to play, because that doesn't exist anywhere else. You know, you can't do that. If you turn professional, you can't do that. You're gonna have contracts that you break. You're gonna have, you know, you're gonna set, I think, just an ugly precedent that, I don't know, I would be concerned a little bit about the sport, just the whole college amateur model going forward with that. So I think, you know, guys being open where they can now talk to any school they want to, I think is positive, not being restricted on contact. I think guys, you know, there's always an avenue now with what we've put forth where, you know, any player can transfer to any school they want. And I totally agree with that, but I do think there's gotta be something that also not holds them back, but also something that holds them accountable for those decisions, because when they go get that first job in the workforce or they become an NFL player or whatever it is, they're always going to be held accountable from that point forward. So, you know, I hope this whole thing's about education, so I hope we're teaching them how it really is when they get done, and not some fantasy world that they have here in college, and that there are, you know, there are repercussions for decisions, and so I hope we can find some balance, because I think we can. I think there is a point, I'm not saying I got all the answers, but I think there's a point where we can give these players rights, the freedoms that they absolutely no doubt should have, but also make sure we're teaching them the right thing about how the world really works as well.
Brandon?
Well, last year you talked a lot about leading into the season, leadership, bringing in a guy like Jalen Hurts, knowing his background. How much more confident do you feel, you know, going into the 2019 season with the guys on the team, plus Jalen, in the leadership?
Well, I mean, I think he's, you know, I think he can, certainly has the ability to be a really good leader for us. But, you know, he's got to get in here and learn this team, you know, learn this offense. He's got to get in here and you know, compete for this quarterback job. I mean, there's a lot of steps ahead, but there's no doubt. I mean, the guy's been in, you know, some of the biggest and best games in college football here over the last few years, and have been, just as I've gotten to know him, been really impressed by the way that he carries himself, the way that he works. And so there's a lot. There's not going to be much that happens to this kid that he hasn't been through already. So you appreciate that side of it, but he's got to come do it here. You know, it's not immediately just going to snap in because he had success at another school, and he realizes that. He's excited. He's hungry to come work. We're excited to get him going with our guys.
We'll go to Barry Trammell.
Like it could work. I think at any point with any new quarterback, you're going to have, you know, you're going to get different feels on what they like, what they do well, and you've got to, like I think we've done, you know, decent with Baker and Kyler, you've got to try to marry your schemes to that and find some common ground there where you're still running your system, but you're also tailoring it to what they do well, and we'll do that for Jalen just like we will for our other quarterbacks that'll be here as well. But I think he's got an intriguing skill set that I'm excited to work with.
How would you describe his skill set?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of things jump off the top. I mean, you look at the kids, again, his experience, what all he's been through. He's had to learn, you know, several different systems. He's had a lot of different coordinators at his time in Alabama, so I like, you know, mentally where he's at. And it helped me a lot being able to sit down with him here on his visit and you know, discuss what they've done, be able to discuss what we've done, and I can tell he's got a good mind for it, so I don't really have any concerns there. I think he's really progressed as a thrower. A lot of the film I watched this year, I see a very, very capable thrower, you know, a very good athlete. He's strong. You know, he's going to have a much different build than a couple of these guys, you know, that we've had here in the last few years. So, but at the same time, too, I don't want to pass too much judgment on something I haven't seen live very much. I saw enough on tape to know the tools are there, but I'll know a lot more about him once we can get on the field and work together.
Okay, I'll come to the left, Garen.
Yeah, Lincoln, I wanted to ask you about the video that popped up on social media, you know, the last couple of days. You got some players who were pretty upset about it for obvious reasons, and have made that pretty clear on social media. I'd like to ask if you've been around your players to discuss any of this yet, how you feel about A, the appearance of the video, and B, how you feel the university fared in terms of response to that video.
Yeah, had a chance to talk to a number of our players. One, I'm proud of them. You know, that's part of coming to college and is learning to speak for yourself and learning to weigh in on values. That's part of being an American citizen and part of growing up. And so I think our guys have done a great job. I encourage them to not be afraid to speak their mind. I mean, there's real issues out there, and these are going to be part of the guys that are going to be handling these issues as they grow up in that generation. And so you always want to see it get better. And I think we've got some guys on our team that are absolutely going to make this place better. As far as my reactions to it, it's sickening. I mean, you hate it. I mean, you just do. I mean, on every level. But the one thing I know, and I don't know if I would have enough of an appreciation for this had I not been here 2 or 3 years ago when we had a similar incident, is I've seen this university community, players on our team, staff members, athletic administration. I mean, I've seen people that have taken a situation like this that is ugly and turn it into a beautiful thing. I mean, the changes on our campus since the SAE event 3 years ago, I don't know that they would have happened as fast and aggressively had that not happened. And there were so many positives that stemmed from that I was just proud of the way, Bob, our players, and not just football, the athletic community, the entire campus responded to that and handled that. And it really felt like, in a lot of ways to me, and I was the new guy in town at that point, but you could really kind of feel it like bring everybody closer together and raised awareness. And it became a positive. And so I'm very confident that everybody involved is going to work hard to make this happen the same way, where change continues to happen and we all continue to work together. And we're here to support our players. I know it puts the university in a difficult situation, but I know President Gallagly and everybody else will be behind all of our students and there to support them and there to help, and we certainly want to be there to do that as well.
Just a real quick follow-up, just to reiterate, the guys with the SAE video use their place on the football team as a sort of a platform to help affect the change. You anticipate you might have guys interested in doing the same,
I hope so.
Even this spring?
Yeah, I hope so. I think it's a great thing. I mean, it's powerful. No doubt the platform exists, and this is an important issue. It's important to all of us. And like I said, that made this place better a few years ago when that happened. And I think we've got some guys very motivated to do that, and they're going to get every amount of support that I could possibly give them.
Eric Bailey?
After the medical, we talked about your future and about the NFL teams, and you said there was no interest, and then a couple of days later, the big announcement comes from the school about the extension. Just your thoughts on the commitment Oklahoma's given you as a head coach, and then also not only you, but the assistant coaches and how they've been able to compensate them as well.
Yeah, I don't want to step too far forward because I know some of those things will be, formalized at the Regents meeting here in a few days, and so I certainly don't want to step out of place there. But I'm very thankful for it. Our Joe, President Gallagly, there's just been a ton of support, and that's one of the big reasons that somebody in this business wants to stay at a place like this when there are other options out there. Is that you feel like you got great people in the trenches with you and people there to support you and give you what you need to be successful. And Oklahoma's always done that, personally for me, they've always done that for this football program. It means a ton. I think a lot of people believe in the direction, the trajectory of this program right now. We certainly do. And that support of so many good people behind you, again, that's what makes this place special. So I'm very thankful for it and very excited about the future.
Okay, Eric G's next.
When you talk about Jalen Hurts and just grad transfers, they don't want too much. What were some of the specific things that he was asking you about as far as what he wanted out of this program and out of this transfer?
Yeah, I think, one, opportunity. Guys want a chance to come compete. Development. I mean, he's been able to look and see the, development of our quarterbacks here over a pretty long period of time, and I think that was positive. I think a lot of guys are wanting to find some type of way to get in, into this offense some way, somehow. It's obviously it's doing some good things at this level and beyond, and I think there's some clear advantages there, especially at that position. And I think for him, it gives him a chance to win. He's been at one of the other winningest programs in the country here over the last couple of years, and has had a chance to compete for championships and be in those big games. And I think he sees that opportunity here. And so, I think those things were all pretty apparent. I think the meetings were just more of a compatibility type meeting, getting a feel. Is it going to work with this staff? Am I going to be good being coached by this guy? How do we hit it off? How do we click? And we both agreed going into it that if anything didn't feel right on either side, that we weren't going to do it, because him coming here and it not being successful is not good for us. It's not good for him. It doesn't make any sense. And certainly just being a fan of the kid from afar the last few years, you just said, as a fan of the game, and not many players that handle situations like he had at Alabama. Not many people handle it like he did, and so you just kind of want to see the kid get in a place where he can get a great opportunity and thrive and become the quarterback that we all think he can be. And so, when he got here, it just seemed to fit, seemed natural, easy, and had some good conversations. And I know he's excited, ready to go.
Good time for just a few more up front.
Yeah, it's just interesting what you were just talking about. A lot of folks, when they talk about Jalen Hurts, they start talking about intangibles, not necessarily on the field things. How beneficial do you see that being for Spencer Rattler and for Tanner Mordecai to have a guy like that around when they, in their young days?
Yeah, no, it'll be great for him. I mean, first thing it does, it provides great competition in that room, which you always want. And best player's always going to play. That's how it's always going to be. But it provides competition, and then certainly a guy that's been through so much, and not just in-game situations, but so much. He's been through so much of what you have to deal with to be a quarterback at a major university this day and age, the good and the bad. And so, and he's Jalen's kind of an old soul. He just, when you sit there talking to him, you don't feel like you're talking to a young man. Hell, I feel like he's older than me talking to him. Honestly, he's awesome, and so he'll be a good influence for those guys. There's no doubt about it, and I'm excited for the influence he'll have on him and the rest of our guys.
Okay, Jake Trotter.
Yeah, Lincoln, when Baker and Kyler got here, they really hadn't played in many big games before. You mentioned the big games that Jalen has played in, and there have been a lot of them. But what advantage does that give him here and give your team coming from the quarterback position?
That helps. I think he knows how to prepare for those games, knows what to expect, all the build-up, being able to focus in on what's really important. I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, that's one of the things that he brings to the table, and there's nothing to replace, having been in those games. So I think it'll help him individually. It's going to make a big difference. And but it's not the only thing. Again, guys have got to come win the job. Guys have got to perform, and he's certainly eager to go at it and go compete to get that done.
Gary Murdoch.
Lincoln, knowing Kyler the way that you do, would it have surprised you if he didn't take that chance to give football a try? And just your thoughts on him kind of chasing that now, or having that opportunity.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, I know he loves football, and I know he really loves baseball too. I mean, I know it's not an easy thing for him to navigate, but am I surprised that he's left his options open? No, I'm not. I mean, I think it's pretty clear he's got a future in each one, and he's going to be. He's already a first-round pick in one, and he's probably getting ready to be a first-round pick in another, and so yeah, it's unique. I'm happy for him though. Again, that he's they're both realistic options now, and financially he's going to be in a good place either way. I mean, there's not a ton of differentiating factors. He can just simply do what he wants to do, which that's all I care about.
Okay, last two questions will go to James Hale and Jason Kersey.
Lincoln, you've had 9 guys from the New Wave 19 class in. What have you heard about them so far? You've eyeballed them. What's your early thoughts on those guys?
Yeah, it's exciting to get them in. They've had a full week here with with Coach Wiley and his staff, and their report's been good. You know, it's just one weekend, so, you know, we won't hand them the Heisman yet, but they, it's a good-looking group, no doubt. They seem very eager to compete. They don't seem, they don't have the deer in the headlights look right now like occasionally you get with freshmen. They're a confident group, they're a talented group, and they've done a good job, getting going with our team. Our team's done a good job of welcoming those guys in. Several of them have been committed here for a long time, so got to know our guys pretty well. And even those that jumped on there as of late, our guys have done a good job of, kind of introducing them to this place and making sure they get off to a good start. But yeah, it's fun. Makes you excited for spring ball.
Video's kind of been making its rounds since the Jalen Hurts news came out. That you, from early December, you said that any team would be lucky, I think something to the effect of, to have a Jalen Hurts on your team.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, had the possibility of him coming here seeped into your mind at all? Was that anything you were thinking about at the time?
No, I mean, it had nothing to do with the comments. I mean,
No, I know. I just mean at that time, had you started to think about that?
not really, just because there's, at that point, there's a million different things that could happen. I don't know what's going to happen with Kyler. I don't know if this guy's transferring. I don't know if that guy's transferring. I mean, you start wondering about those things. You just, with everything else that's on my plate, you start to dilute what's really important. So no, I hadn't. I knew there was a possibility at some point that he might transfer. I didn't know what was going to happen here, but I had not spent any serious time thinking about it, no.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Lincoln,
We'll break
thanks.
for just a second.